And you will see during the presentation that we have quite a number of solutions that are complementary to each other. And our motto is where simplicity meets compliance. Okay, so we're trying to maintain this trust with compliance and make it as simple as possible. A little bit about us. We are a company which has its main headquarters in Italy. We have several offices there. The two main ones are in Milan and Senigallia. We have offices outside of Italy in Romania, Austria, Germany, France, Spain, Brazil, Costa Rica, and so on. We are more than 1,400 employees, and we have a wide range of partners located in various countries. And thanks to Avantech, we're also present in Malta with several projects already. Now, Namibia has changed over the past few years, and the most significant change happened at the beginning of this year when the company was acquired by the investment fund called Bain Capital, one of the top three investment funds in the world, at a valuation of over 1 billion euros. Basically, it's 1.1 billion euros. And when they came, they said, okay, let's establish some strategies. So we set up 3 pillars for the company. These 3 pillars are AI. AI means that, what we mean by AI, it means that we are using different tools, ChatGPT, Claude, and so on, for all internal purposes, as well as embedded in all of our products. And you will see the products now. I will give you examples of how the company is using AI in those specific products. The second pillar is trust services. We've been a trust service provider for quite some time, and our goal was to become the largest trust service provider in Europe, and we achieved this goal this year because we now directly own 5 certificate authorities in different countries. So we have 1 certificate authority in Italy, 2 in Spain, 1 in France, and 1 in Ireland, and we're acquiring more. You will learn later why we have so many certificate authorities spread all over Europe and what our plan is with this pillar. The third pillar is the wallet. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because my colleague had already a workshop on the wallet, and he will talk about it again in the next workshop a little bit later. We're a qualified trust service provider at European level, and we're right now issuing more than 20 million certificates each year in all the countries in Europe. The latest addition to the Namibian group is a company called Signaturit, one of the larger providers of e-signature solutions and trust services. They were mainly active in France and Spain. Okay, these slides looks a little bit complicated, but it's actually simple to read. If you look on the upper part of the slide, you see the types of customers that we have. We have more than 2,000 enterprise customers spread all over the world, more than 50,000 SMEs, more than 100,000 professionals. This means notaries, accountants, lawyers, and we have more than 2,000 government bodies as customers. So we are present basically in all verticals, in all possible verticals. In the bottom part of the slide, you see the numbers that we do in the different products that we offer. And then on the left-hand side, some use cases which are compliance-driven, and the regulated end markets on the right-hand side. By the way, you're going to get access to the presentation, so feel free to ask the Nelly or anybody from Avantech. And here we go into the platforms. So the first one is Namibia onboarding. As I said, we address the whole value chain, and we take the customer from the beginning when we don't know with whom we're talking. And Namibia onboarding is making use of different types of identifications. This is quite important for the end of the presentation because Neville will show you something that we built recently for the Maltese market. To Namibia onboarding, we can handle identity verification using different types of IDs. So we support eIDs from different countries. We support eID schemas from different countries. We have our own onboarding solutions with self-onboarding, many times called the Revolut style of onboarding, where a customer goes through facial biometrics, liveness detection, passive liveness detection, phone number validation, email validation, and so on. Then we can handle data hubs, so we have different sources from where we pull data in the process of identifying the customer. Doc processor, we can handle different types of documents and extract data from those documents and pass it to other systems. Now, AI is quite important, especially in this onboarding tool, because each of the items that I mentioned earlier make use of AI. For example, when we have an eID document, or an ID document in general, when we go CR, we don't just do document recognition and data extraction, we also do the data validation. So we match the document against the predefined template. We make sure that the font contains certain characteristics specific to that document. We validate the data that we extract against the database in order to prevent what is called hemorrhagic fraud. So if somebody is trying to do fraud with the same type of ID, we try to detect that through AI. When we use data sources and we use other types of documents, we use AI in order to match the two sources in an automatic way. Namiro onboarding, as I said, makes use of eID schemas. Has these self-onboarding, self-identification tools, which, by the way, if you have questions, you can stop me at any time. So if you want me to focus on a specific area. Self-onboarding for us, it means that the customer goes through the identification process by themselves, but at some point, an agent could intervene asynchronous. So in the backend, somebody could validate the data. We have live identification with the customer assisting with an agent assisting the customer throughout the identification process, and this semi-automated identification, as I said, where an agent intervenes, most of the cases asynchronous to validate the data. And all of these are part of Namiro onboarding, and we can provide the different means of identification to customers depending on what they have available. Namiro ID Hub is part or makes use of the Namiro orchestrators and third-party orchestrators, and is using the digital identities for different countries, as well as identity validation solutions. An example given on this slide is LiveID Plus, which is the assisted video onboarding. The solutions that you see there, which are connected to the orchestrators that we provide, come from third parties. So you see SPID is the national ID schema from Italy, ID Austria is the one from Austria, CIE is the national ID card from Italy, we have the eID from Malta supported, plus identity verification solutions which belong to Namiro. So Namiro and EOS and LiveID Plus are two examples. Okay. Now, something that happened recently was a change in legislation. This change in legislation, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but when you do an identification, you have different levels of assurance. This means how certain you are, or the type of validations you make in order to ensure that the person is who they say they are. And up until now, level substantial, which was the middle level, was fine for issuing qualified certificates, for doing eKYC, and so on. Now, with the changes in the European regulation, especially in A+, level of assurance high is required. And this will be imposed starting on May. That's why on ID Self-Trust, we obtained already certification. You see, it was expected by October 2025. So we already got the certification, and we can provide a self-onboarding tool that is compliant with level of assurance high. This is in order to ensure to our customers that there is no interruption in their onboarding processes. ID Self-Max, basically what it does is that it uses human operators, trained human operators on AML processes in order to complement the identification which is done automatically by the system. Right, and this is talking about the call center that we have, 100% owned by us. So these operators basically clear any doubts related to the identification process, and they can carry additional checks if required, if there are doubts about the process. And what you see at the end, reaffirm the AI result by doing systematic checks. Okay, so AI is always used in the identity validation, but we also make use of human operators whenever necessary. Building platform, just a couple of words. This is based on the Indus 2.0. It's seen as a super app where you have your identity with personal identification data plus several attributes plus the signature with different use cases that are being implemented and supported for public entities or for private entities, students, universities, and so on. The wallet is handled, I think, in one line by MDIA, and most likely there will be a public wallet issued by them. I'm not sure if there will be any private wallets, but basically the market says that you could have one or multiple public wallets complemented by many other private wallets, unless the legislation says that private wallets are not accepted. And we have our own technology for the wallet compliant with the eID regulation. Namirally Sign Anywhere, to be rebranded to Namirally Sign Enterprise, is the digital transaction management platform used by 98% of our customers. And this platform is used to create simple or complex signing processes where one or multiple documents are being sent to one or multiple recipients in a given order, sequentially or in parallel. I told you that all of the products that we have are complementary to each other. So the trust services are integrated into Namirally Sign Anywhere as it is with Namirally Onboarding. So imagine a flow where a signing flow is created, and you have three signatories. The second one, you don't know who it is. So you have to identify him or her, and that's why you call in the signing process Namirally Onboarding in order to do the identification. That's one example of how Namirally Sign Enterprise communicates with Namirally Onboarding. Another one is the trust services. I told you that we issue about 20 million certificates on a yearly basis, and the numbers are increasing year over year. We issue different types of certificates. Most common ones are the session-based certificates because of two reasons: cost and easiness to be used. So they're very simple to be used by users. And we can issue qualified certificates on physical devices, USB tokens or smart cards, or in the cloud. Most of the time, we issue them in the cloud. So certificates can be differentiated based on the validity period. Disposable means session, long-term means 1 or 3 years. Based on the device on which they're issued, HSM are remote certificates, physical devices, tokens, or USB devices. Or the type of certificates in terms of how the signature is applied. We have a standard certificate where the user has to authenticate themselves and their credentials, or automatic certificates for counter-signing processes. So cover the full range of types of certificates. Certificates are used in the Namirally Sign Enterprise because if you place a qualified signature, you also need a qualified certificate. And what you will see at the end of the presentation is how we issue a qualified certificate based on an eID from ATA. So we don't need to do any identification. We do basically an authentication against the eID. When I told you that we are the largest trust service provider, and I mentioned the 5 certificate authorities that we own, what I didn't mention is that we also have on our infrastructure 25 certificate authorities. So we provide PKI as a service to companies, organizations, entities that are interested in becoming trust service providers. Basically, if any bank wants to become a trust service provider in the European Commission list, in the EU trust list, we could do this in about 2, maximum 3 months. So they would become basically a competitor of Namirally. And we have 25 such certificate authorities from worldwide. Okay, we're probably the only trust service provider that uses multi-TSP available. What this means is that we have different data centers. Of course, always a trust service provider has to have a main and disaster recovery. But we do this in different countries. Because of the certificate authorities that we own in different countries, for example, if the infrastructure in Italy would fall, then the Spanish infrastructure to take over. So it's very, very difficult for an immediate to have an interruption in the service. And it's also using AI in order to do this switch whenever is necessary between the different data centers. Okay, Naviral Archive, where we store documents or artifacts of the identification process. I'm gonna skip through the presentation because Daniel wants to also do a demo. Certified communication, this is a tool for ensuring compliance with regards to sending communication to the customers. To give you some examples, if you need to notify customers that there are changes in the terms and conditions of their contract, or some interest rates have been changed, or you need to notify customers that they're in default, and if they don't pay their outstanding balance within a certain period of time, they will be reported to the credit bureau. Well, with this solution, we ensure that the message has been sent and received, or sent, received, and opened, or sent, received, opened, and identity of the person opening the message. In this way, the solution becomes a qualified electronic registered delivery service. Okay. And you see here the full chain of ensuring the audit rate for that notification, how it has been sent. Okay. To also provide hardware, from a hardware perspective, we have different types of signature pads, signature capturing devices, multi authentication hardware devices. So you see one outside in the lobby where you can have a fingerprint reader, a document scanning camera, an NFC reader, a magnetic stripe reader. I think it's also signature pad plus a selfie camera. Okay, so this allows our customers to capture documents from different types of documents, and then through AI to extract the data to pass it to another system in order for the contracts to be generated and then signed on the same device. So this is mainly for one-of-access applications. Okay, safe access for some customer authentication. We have a broad portfolio of multi-factor authentication methods. Because username and password is no longer sufficient, we can do simple integration of an authentication service based on the asymmetric cryptography, and of course we protect workflows with Azure and MSAD integration. Potentially also with on-premise deployment. ClickWrap is a simple solution for signing terms and conditions, or with a simple electronic signature signing contract. The mark, I think I covered it, and that's pretty much. Questions about any of the solutions? Wait, because otherwise, okay, I guess not. So Nevin?
So, hello everyone, I'm Nevin Amapanda. For those who do not know me, I'm head of business solutions. What I will be explaining and demonstrating today is how to apply a qualified signature in a simple fashion. So, okay. So essentially, we are saying that, first of all, for those of you who are new to the subject, there are three forms of electronic signatures. You have simple, advanced, and qualified. The simple and advanced are the basic ones. So the ways and means of authenticating, but when the certificate is applied on the document, it doesn't state who is the person. It will state that the document was signed with a digital signature. It will also show that the document wasn't tampered with. And through mechanisms such as auditing, you can also enforce identity verification, such as the way the document was received via email, for example. So you have an email which is associated to the signee. If you put an OTP request and the user signing, the signature signing, is applying an OTP, they will receive an SMS OTP on the mobile. So you have two things. You have the email, you have the mobile number. So like that, we a step closer at establishing who is the person's son. But the certificate will show the authority providing the signature. So in this case, this will show the email. But to go for qualified, so your legal teams will have to advise which situations you need to use an advanced or a simple, or you require a qualified signature for the document being signed. But when you need a qualified signature, there are a number of hurdles. And the number of hurdles are that you need the person who is signing to enroll with the Trust Service Authority. So essentially, we're saying you need to ask your third party to find the TSP and enroll. Enroll in the sense like you, for example, I believe most of you are familiar with how the Revolut app works. So you need to provide the ID card, you need to fill in some details, you need to take photos and what's not. There's a fee to obtain a qualifying certificate on your name. And the people that are not that tech savvy, so if you're dealing with people that are not into IT, this becomes complicated. So that is one of the hurdles, or those are the three main hurdles actually, that you may encounter if you are required to obtain qualified signatures for third parties. What I will be showing you here is how we have integrated the use of eID, the Maltese eID, when applying or when requesting a signature from a third party, simply by them logging on the eID, Maltese eID, thus the identity and the details are being provided by a trust authority. In this case, identity Malta. And that data is then being used to generate an on-the-fly, what we call a disposable certificate, which is a one-time qualified certificate to be used on the document for this transaction only. But the site signatories only need to log in the eID to sign. So I will run this short video to show you how it's done. So this is the Navigate platform. We're selecting a document, and in this case, I'm using my name as one of the signs. I think that I am requesting an eID to sign this document. I'm placing a signature box on the document I need to sign, which will automatically default to disposable certificate since I showed the eID. I selected the Maltese eID credentials. The minute you open the document being received, the system is prompting the user to log in with an eID. So at this point, I'm logging in with an eID. The two-form authentication and whatever, however you set up your eID. I have been identified, so my details came up there. And now the document is ready for signature. I select the button where I need to sign. There's, the issuance of a disposable certificate. It's like a mini editing where it's explained what this is going to do. An OTP is sent on the mobile. Again, this is towards security, to the solution. So I'm applying an OTP. The mobile number can either be retrieved from the ID, or else you can supply in the earlier section. There was a place where I put in the mobile number. Now, in this part, the document is being downloaded, and now we're opening it with PDF reader, Adobe, I believe. And on the signature panel, it is showing legally level. And if we examine this signature, it is showing that it is a qualified signature. So in this case, there was no enrollment done, but simply eID login with OTP validation. Any questions?
In fact, what I come from banking, so one of the biggest challenges we have is trying to make this journey as simple as possible for the customers. And you mentioned the fact that because it's qualified, it goes into the eID, so basically there is the confirmation of the eID of the customer. But then you requested further the OTP. So is that mandated when you have a qualified certificate, or could you make it simple with just a possible?
In this scenario, we're using two functions. There's the eID, which is establishing the link. So the moment that the signatory signs in with the eID, we have established the identity. And those details in the identity will be used in the disposable certificate that is going to be generated. But to generate a disposable certificate, we need the OTP. So that is why we're requesting the OTP. Adrian, I don't know if there is a way where the OTP can be avoided in such a scenario. So when they are signing with a qualified signature and logging in with an eID to generate the disposable
We
certificate,
have scenarios in implementation to be avoided where we are in the
the OTP.
Yeah.
It's still a qualified certificate.
It's still qualified.
If one of the tablets is used to sign on the document,
One of the tablets.
yes.
Now, the tablet is another story. That is capturing biometrics.
Not only biometric, but it can also work with qualified signatures. But the tablet is used for displaying the contract that you
Yes,
sign at the bottom of sales application.
Will that be a qualified certificate?
Can
As
be
I'm saying-
qualified as well. So by default, it's advanced electronic signature with the handling of biometric data, but it can be qualified as well. So in the qualified case, you would be asked to enter the one-time password that you get by SMS on a virtual keyboard.
So the difference is that the tablet is capturing the biometrics as well. Any other questions? Yes.
Just to confirm, the envelope you were mentioning, the certificate that was issued, that is essential, it's contained what the.
In this example, there was only one person signing. So in this case, it was one envelope for one person. But if the transaction, in the example I did, had multiple people signing, it would be one envelope, but then you have multiple people participating in this transaction. So what applies then to one user would apply to both the other users, but still via one envelope.
That is essential, obviously, for all purposes.
This is essential when you are doing a transaction between third parties. So if I had a document and I wanted to sign it on my own without involving third parties, then you don't need this solution. One can enroll, get a certificate for own use, and sign with a qualified signature as many times as you want. But in the scenario where your business case requires you generating a document and sending it to third parties to sign, then you need a solution where you're controlling the whole transaction. So in this case, we're using the envelopes, the concept of a virtual envelope, where we're putting in the document and getting third party to sign. I think we need to close. Our colleagues from Denmark are waiting for me to shut up. And I will oblige. Thank you all.
Thank you.